Going to get Paul Hamilton in on the Sabres offseason. July 1st, yesterday, the opening of free agency, a flurry of action, some trades, some signings, and a Jarmo Kekäläinen press conference. The Sabres added 4 pieces, likely some Rochester pieces, guys that we might see from time to time, and we're going to talk about it with him. His appearance brought to you by Relax Honda. Relax, we got this. Paul, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, Paul. Did you take the time to watch Team USA? Are you even in on the tournament from a USA standpoint?
Well, I'm a little ahead of what I have been. I actually know they won.
All right, good.
I might not have known they won before today, but I actually saw on Twitter that they had won. So, yeah, that's a little bit ahead of where I've been.
That is progress from when I was driving around last week with you on the afternoon show, and you said that if they were in the final, you wouldn't know it.
Is that still true? I was just about to ask. If they make the final, will you watch it?
I will not watch the whole thing. I might watch the end.
And check in on it. Let me know when there's
that's progress too.
All right. All right. Here's the deal. If they make the World Cup final, I will text you when it goes to stoppage time, and I'll be like, "We're like 7 minutes left. That's all there is, Paul. That's all I need from you."
Paul, as a non-soccer fan, what's your least favorite soccer rule? Is it offsides?
He wouldn't even know.
He wouldn't even know.
No, my least favorite thing is when injuries are faked. If you're legitimately hurt, that's fine. But if injuries are faked, and you're taken off on a stretcher, and then you're back in the game 30 seconds later, no, I'm not all over that at all. But
But speaking of Paul George. No, it was Paul Pierce that did that. Paul Pierce got wheeled out in a wheelchair.
He went out in a wheelchair and came back
played.
5 minutes later.
Yeah,
it's
right.
one of the ultimate.
Not Paul George, Paul Pierce. Yeah. Anyway, Paul.
I did that once. I had a teammate when I was little who went down to get a penalty, and then I thought, that looks pretty cool. We got a power play, but I'm going to do that. And my teammates just, got all over me. Like, what are you doing? You look like an idiot. And so I go, you're right, I did. I'm sorry.
You didn't get stretchered off, though, right? Like, you just, went down?
No, I went down and acted like I was hurt to get a power play, and they just were like, no, you look like an idiot. Stop doing that.
We did see more of that in, I feel like, the playoffs this year. Or maybe we're just new to that because the Sabres hadn't been in a while. But, we had the Montreal diving scandal for a couple of days here. But
quickly, I think I've told you guys I enjoy watching Caitlin Clark, so I watch Indiana Fever games. She has gotten in the habit now, like every single time anyone gets anywhere near her, she snaps her head back, hard. And it's like, come on, would you stop that? I hate, as much as I enjoy watching her play, I hate that she does that every single time somebody comes up to cover her. Mm-hmm. And they start mocking her now, the other team.
Right. Paul, we got a press conference from Jarmo Kekäläinen, a handful of signings, 4 signings, mainly for Rochester. Where to begin here? We probably didn't expect anything from the Sabres in terms of big signings. They don't have an awful lot of NHL holes to fill, right? This is a team that's fairly flush at forward. If we want to talk about upgrades, that's a different conversation. But I'd imagine you're not surprised there was very little in the department of NHL ads from free agency yesterday.
No, guys, honestly, it went just kind of the way I thought. Get some Rochester guys. I think all those guys might be Rochester guys, or because the Sabres actually, when Peyton Krebs signs, they got 24 guys.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's without putting Connor Sherry or Dennis Gilbert on the roster. So, and you never know what kind of injuries you're going to get in training camp. But, yeah, so of the guys that they have, I mean, I still do lines here. I mean, I got Carrick Center and Kozak and Danforth for our full 5th line. So it's like, and that's not, I think, what they're planning on. And they're going to, they're planning on 3 goalies. I mean, if they didn't go with 3 goalies, they'd be fine at 23. But so anyway, getting back to, Connor Sherry, I guess, is a guy you'd call up if you needed him, or Dennis Gilbert. Because Sherry played all in the NHL last year, but the year before when he was in Tampa, he only had 4 or 5 NHL games and played most of the year in Syracuse.
Right. Is there, a chance, do you think, that Gilbert could be somebody that would factor in, but probably only, right, if there would be injuries at the position?
Yeah, I've got Samuelson, Dahlin, Power, Crevier, Zellweger, Timmins, and Metza as 7.
Yeah.
So I don't think – if they wanted to go with 8D and then 1 extra forward – or no, they can't because of the extra goalie. I'm sorry.
Right.
They can have 1 extra forward, 1 extra D, and 1 extra goalie, or 2 extra D and no extra forwards.
That might be one of those, Paul, where like you get late in the year, and if you're good and you're challenging for the playoffs again or in a playoff spot, like this happened after the deadline, right? Because then the roster flexibility stuff comes in, and maybe he is here as an eighth. Like once we're around playoff time, doesn't mean he'll play, but maybe he's someone who's like here by the end of the season for that.
And I told you I had my lines. I don't like the way my lines are set up right now. They have to be different. Because actually right now I have Krebs centering Mallenstein and Ostlund, and that's not, Norris, Benson, Doan, McLeod, Zucker, Quinn, Kulik, Helenius, and Thompson. I mean, Ostlund and Helenius could go back and forth. Benson could slide in there. But Benson can play anywhere. He can play with Norris and maybe help that line, because they did play together for a while and pretty well. So as I sit here and look at it, I'm going, no, I don't like Ostlund with Krebs and Mallenstein. But I'm trying to figure out how I would fix that. Well,
they are going to end up with at least a little bit of room here, Paul. Like Krebs will come in at some point, and we'll see what that number looks like. But it's not going to be, the $8.7 million that they're left with here. So whatever Krebs comes in at, even if they don't make a big swing somewhere in a trade, they'll probably be left with what, like $4-5 million left in space when it's all said and done.
To do what? Just get guys? Again, they might have to get a few more, for Rochester or whatever. But you're just getting guys, and then it's just more guys you're going to have to send to Rochester, unless you can really and there's really nobody. A lot of people, when I've been at the arena or at Harbor Center what about this guy? What about this guy? I mean, all time, as everywhere I'm walking. What about you want Kane? And I'm like shrugging my shoulders, going, Kane, whatever. If they sign him for $3 million, I wouldn't criticize it. If they don't sign him, I wouldn't criticize it. It's just like, That's how I felt about the free agent class, and of course, many players were overpaid. Anybody I had thought on thinking, well, maybe him got overpaid, and it's like, well, I'm not paying that for Anders Lee or whatever, and so yeah, we all know free agency is not the way to build your team. It's trades, it's good drafting, and go find a trade if you can. I mean, to me, if I'm going to overpay for anything, it's Dylan Larkin. That I will overpay in prospects there if that's what it takes to get him there. That's the only thing I would say. All right, yeah, you gave Detroit a lot, but I think that Dylan Larkin would fit in this group very well.
Well, to that point, Paul, about like what they could do next, I heard you on with the afternoon show yesterday. I think it was the afternoon show, and you said the roster as presently constructed, you feel like they might struggle to make the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I do. You just haven't. I mean, Helenius and Ostlund definitely deserve to be on the team. But, you worry about, and I keep going back to it, when Briere and Drury went and all the Amherst came up, who were Vanek and Miller and Gaustet and Roy and Pominville. Roy and Pominville and Vanek shouldn't have been up in the top line yet. They just were in Rochester. Give them a chance to get acquainted with the NHL and play well and get confidence. Before there are players that are going to be up there, but you didn't necessarily. I mean, if Drury and Briere were there, they weren't going to be up there that first year, and that's kind of what I'm thinking with Helenius and Ostlund. I have full confidence they're going to be excellent NHL players, but I don't want to put it on two youngsters saying, "Well, you're replacing Tuck. Go to it." Well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, let's let them, get acclimated. Let them become good NHL players. They already are good NHL, but just let them get acclimated a little bit before we say, "Well, here you go, buddy. You're gonna replace Tuck."
Mm-hmm. They played mostly depth roles last year. Like that's like not necessarily like on the fourth line, but I guess my hope would be, Paul, that you have, if I include Kulik in it, you have three of them, and I'm not even sure which one would be it, but what are my odds that one guy is up to the task of playing up high in the lineup? I've wondered about Kulik for that, because Lindy, it feels like at every chance, has talked about Kulik with Tage and Benson when they played together, and I don't know what that would look like for a full year, or if they would even open the season. Like, that's another part of it. Like, you mentioned you have a lineup and like line combos for next year, and how many different guys could you put, like, or just
Right.
pencil in as your number one center, even if it's more of like a 1B center, 1A center?
Yeah, I thought Kulik, not last year because he hardly played, but the year before, and Lindy Ruff has brought this up, he really liked him a lot, and I think Benson was the winger. He was with Thompson and Benson, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And it really looked like they meshed, and it looked like a top line. Of the three, Helenius, Kulik, and Ostlund, they're all centers. But I think Ostlund and Helenius look good on the wing. It doesn't seem to bother them at all. It does bother Kulik. He, was pretty good in Rochester, but he's playing wing. And then all of a sudden he got put at center. And it was like the light went off. And then he dominated the American Hockey League. And same thing in remember when he first came up here in the NHL, he was on the wing. He's like, I'm not impressed. And then whoever it was, I can't remember if it was Lindy or if it was Granato when he first got here that switched him to center. I believe it was Lindy, but I'm not positive. I have to look back. Moved him to center, and it was like night and day. It was like, oh, yeah, okay, that's the guy we've been seeing. So, I think of the three of them, and they're all centers. I think Helenius and Ostlund are fine on the wing. Where I would love to see Ostlund is in McLeod's spot with Quinn and Zucker.
Yep.
I think he would fill that very, very well. That is a quote third line if people want to number lines. I think he's as good or maybe even better right now at being a two-way player. As I'm staring at the lines, that's where I would love to put him. And that's kind of in the playoffs. McLeod wound up down with Malenstein, and it got to a point where his defense was not good enough, and Lindy told him no, and he took him off his line. So maybe Ostlund would get that opportunity if McLeod doesn't get back to playing the way he did a couple of years ago when he first got here.
The other guy I'd wonder, those three are often mentioned first, and that's the conversation when it's who's going to replace Tuck and who's going to play up high in the lineup. Any thought that could be Jack Quinn? Like, he comes up in trade rumors a lot, I know, but he did take a step last year. He looked good in the playoffs. He just had trouble scoring. But I don't know, like, is he somebody they would see as being capable of being elevated into, instead of a 15-minute-a-night guy, becoming like even an 18, 19-minute-a-night guy? Or do you feel like they think he is what he is, which is a 20-goal guy that maybe gets a little hot and cold?
Yeah, that seems to be what he is. I mean, I've been wrong on him. When he was in Rochester, the way he used to score goals, and I thought for sure he would come up to the NHL and be a consistent 30-goal scorer. With that shot that he has, it hasn't developed into that yet. He was a little bit better last year, as far as scoring goals, but he doesn't seem to get himself always in good position to score those goals and let that shot go. You've got Doan, who produced 25 last year, and that's why I sit here and look at him with Norris. Yeah, I suppose you could put Quinn with Norris, and then Doan would be with Zucker and McLeod. But Quinn and McLeod and Zucker at times played very, very well, but it kind of went south towards the end of the season. So that's a line that's been together for a while. But, that would be my question is, do I want to put Quinn in for Doan, in that slot? And I'm not sure that I do. And it seems like Doan probably will start getting penalty killing because Lindy Ruff said that at the end of the year at the press conferences, saying, he'd like to get Doan some penalty killing time, which is he needs that because two of the premier penalty killers in the NHL are gone in Tuck and Greenway.
$3.1 million over 3 years for Zellweger, Paul. Is that right around what you were thinking?
Yeah, I think that's a comfortable place to put him. I mean, I think there is an upside to him that could be found. And you know how I always say around 3-4 years for a defenseman, Jarmo says 200 games, and he's at 164. So I think that's a good – and I wouldn't put him in with Power right now. I would, again, let him, find out the way the Sabres play and, get his feet and start trying to realize his potential. Because if you do put him with Power, then you got two lefties in Power and Zellweger, and you got two righties in Crevier and Timmins, and you're right back to the problem he had last year. Or if Metza's in the lineup, he's a righty too. Lindy hates that, and he doesn't like putting righties together. So when he has that, then Samuelson and Power and Dahlin are playing with the third pair, as extra shifts. The third pair doesn't play together when they're both righties. So I could see Lindy wanting Zellweger to play with Timmins as a lefty-righty and Crevier maybe to start with Power and see how that looks. Again, being a lefty-righty.
Paul Hamilton joining us. His appearance brought to you by Raylax Honda. Raylax, we got this. Paul, on that point about Zellweger, I feel I'm eager to see him. Like, of all the new players that'll come here, the fancy numbers stats and all those sites love this guy. And like some of the fancy numbers guys would say this is a Bo Byram upgrade, not just a replacement, but he has all that it takes to be even better. So, we'll see how he slots in and what he looks like and what he pairs with. But like there's a lot to like from, again, like if you're someone like me, I haven't seen a lot of him play. I just know the people that watch him and do all that like him quite a bit.
And if I could add to that, Paul, quickly, like on that, like his numbers look better than Byram. One test might be if he's tested more. Like Byram would get exposed to tough matchups at times. And I think part of the story about Zellweger was they did a good job of like, you're starting in the offensive zone all the time, and we're not always going to put you out there against top lines. And I guess you kind of laid that out too. Like maybe he'll see more of that here, but that'll be like a Lindy job, right? Is how do I want to use him compared to how I used to use Byram?
And you know how Lindy, he mixes his pairs during a game anyway, depending on what's going on in the game and that type of thing. Zellweger has work to do defensively. I mean, he's a very good puck mover. There's no question about that. And I'm just wondering this out loud. Were Byram's numbers last year maybe not as good because he was so bad in October and November? He got good when the team got good, which is in December. But he had 2 months where I would guess his numbers were not very good at all because it was like, well, what's wrong with him? He's not playing the way we know he can, type of a thing. And then it kind of clicked. And he and the rest of the defense, they figured it out, and they stopped giving up the on-band rushes and all that, and they defended better. I feel Byram's one of those guys because I've told you guys, I think usually the eye test and the numbers line up pretty well. But in Byram's case, I don't think they did. I don't think he's as good offensively as the numbers are saying, and people are saying, well, the Blackhawks got this big offensive defenseman. And they go, did they? And then I don't think his numbers were as bad defensively. I thought he defended pretty well, when the Sabres got going in December. More than pretty well. I didn't have a real problem with it every now and then, but, I didn't have a problem with him defensively at all. So I don't think maybe the numbers line up with the eye test when it comes to Bo Byram.
Sabres today have that 3-on-3 prospects scrimmage, right, this morning? So
yep, I'll be on my way as soon as we're done.
Very good, very good.
Anybody that wants to go down, they can watch it 9:30.
Yeah, 9:30 this morning. And
why don't you guys take a half hour early and go down and watch?
It's not a bad idea, Paul. What I was going to ask you to do is if you could, when you're down there, let me know if the giant duck has arrived yet. All right?
Is that this weekend?
Yeah, the giant rubber duck. So let me know if
I remember the last time that duck was here, you were obsessed.
Well, not every day you get a big giant rubber duck.
Of course, you have children that probably wouldn't mind seeing the big rubber duck.
That's right. That's right. I just pretend that they are very excited to see it, and then I get to go see it. Right. So we might go down and see that today. Thanks, Paul.
All right, take care.
Paul Hamilton. His appearance brought to you by Raylax Honda. Raylax, we got this.